All righty, everyone. We are back with another episode of Seminoles Sideline 365 live. If you're joining us live tonight, if you're not, if you're watching us on recording, we'd love that too. But once again, my name is KB, and alongside me is the old man, Bruce, in a slightly different format than you're used to, but we're rolling with it. He had a little internet outage. You know, old people on the internet, sometimes they can get a little wonky.
No, it's so stupid. Listen.
He didn't pay his bill, guys, so he's having to do it off his phone.
I beat you into the studio all the time. And so I have it up and running. It's up and running. Everything's cool. And the next thing I know, it says not connected to the internet. What the hell does that mean? I checked the TV. The TV's on okay. And then, of course, they never make these systems. This HP I run off of sucks. And there's no button that says it should come up and say, just hit this to go back on. Of course, you can't find that. They hide that shit, but they don't have any problem. They don't have any problem hiding ads and do this and premium services and all this other bullshit that goes on in our society today.
This is the reason why Bobby Bowden had to retire. Can you imagine Bobby Bowden having to coach in the technology era? Look at the old man. He can't even function off his laptop.
That's not true.
And now Bobby was coaching into his 80s. Can you imagine all the technology, how hard it must have been?
Hey, how about Jimbo with all his papers?
He's another mess, and he's fairly young. Yeah, he's fairly young, and he's a mess. But well, we're glad to have you. Anyways,
you can see me, right, and hear me, right?
You can see her and hear you. That's all that matters. So, but once again, thanks to you all for joining us tonight, whether you're live or watching us on demand.
And I do have my cookie.
I'm sure everyone's glad to see that. But tonight we're going to be going through a portal update. If you missed my quick bite yesterday, not the bite he's having, but the bite I did yesterday, 10 minutes. We did a 10-minute show just of basically covering attrition so far on the roster. Since then, there's been a lot of news and updates. So we'll go briefly through that tonight, as well as who is Florida State targeting in the portal? Who should be on your radar? Who should we be looking at? Who hopefully is on Florida State's radar as we look to rebuild this roster from all the moves that have happened today and over the course of the last 3 days. So a lot to go over. We'll try to make it brief tonight because there's a lot of things out there to go through.
Wait a minute. I don't want it brief. I don't want it brief.
Okay, well, I do because I've been working all day, and so has everybody else. So we'll try to keep it brief, y'all. Give you the knowledge and the news that matters. And as always, give us your comments, Mike. We'd love to have you. What's going on? Hope you're having a great
Mike.
Day.
What's up? What's up, Mike?
Us tonight. But yeah, we'll get right to it. So Bruce,
hashtag Mike got us. We got you, buddy.
We got you, Mike, and we're glad to have you. But as we discussed yesterday on my quick bite show, the 10 minutes,
that was a great show, by the way.
Yeah, we lost a couple of players. We said farewell to Amari.
Did we?
I think we did. We lost some of our leaders and locker room leaders in my mind, not production leaders. Amari was the active tackles leader. So in my mind,
So the question is, why did we lose him?
I think it was playing time. Like I said on yesterday's show, he only got to play really sparingly. He after that injury, he only really started seven or so games, and he just kind of got worked over. Kind of crossed over in the depth chart. So, like I said, early in his career, he got to play a lot, and it was just towards that end, he kind of got lapped a little bit. He got recruited over. And it's unfortunate. I think he's a great guy. I think everyone says he's a great guy. You saw Mike Norville's statement that I put up yesterday. So like I said, you lost 2 locker room guys in Amari and Keyshawn. And then you lost some defensive linemen, Sean Bray and Jarrett, who Sean Bray didn't really get to play a whole lot. I think there was some potential there. But once again, those guys kind of got lapped over in the depth chart, and they didn't see their spot potentially opening up in the near future. So they've moved on, which is unfortunate because Jarrett was a transfer. So he's once again moving forward from Louisville to Florida State to wherever is next. And then you had some breaking news today. I think we had an additional 3 more names go into the portal. You had offensive lineman project Rod Orr, who was making who was seen as an athletic guy who was making the transition to that line. And we knew who was a highly ranked player out of 2021. I think he was rated like the number 22 offensive tackle prospect. But you knew it was going to take some time to develop this guy. He was going to have to get in with Alex Atkins, develop his body, work on his technique. And he didn't play at all in 2022. No registered snaps. And, he was kind of a high school basketball player, like I said, more of an athlete, a big guy who was athletic. But you knew you were going to have to develop. And, he didn't see any playing time last year. And he's moving forward, moving on. So once again, you're seeing some of that depth that you brought in on the offensive line. Some guys are like, I don't see myself playing. And that can go into the conversations that Alex Atkins is having with some of these young guys. Like, hey, this is where you sit on the depth chart. We have some veteran guys. We have some younger guys we brought into that deep class last year that may be on top of you right now. So are you willing to put in the time and stick with us? Or he may be telling him, I think you should go other places because we're going to look at the portal for some additional names, which we know Florida State is. And on the other end, aside from Rod Orr, you lost also George Wilson, who was a sparingly, to put it lightly, used 4-star prospect on the defensive line. We didn't even bring him up during our portal forecast show a week or two back. He was a prospect out of Virginia, out by me in the DC area. Once again, highly rated, but you knew it was going to take a couple of years for him to develop into the scheme. But he never did. He was a scout team guy last year in 2021. And then I don't think he registered. I think he played maybe 3 games, according to some sites this year. I didn't really notice him on the field, no stats that I remember. And then he announced today that he's going to be moving forward, which I think is a good move for him because I believe, once again, they seem to be recruiting over in that position, whether it's bringing guys from the portal. You have emergers like Pat Payton, who have probably lapped him on the depth chart, younger guys, Josh Farmer, stuff like that, who are playing well and are going to hold on to those positions. So I think he saw the writing on the wall, had his coaches with talks with Odell, and hit the portal. So I think it's a good move for him as well. No big loss there. And then the final one, and I'll get your thoughts, Bruce, is Sidney Williams in the portal. I don't think this is. I know some people on our last show said they didn't expect Sidney to leave. In the comments, people were saying in the comments, I don't think Sidney's going to leave. I think he's going to stay. Well, he's leaving. I mean, he played in 9 games this season, registering 12 tackles. This past season, 66 total and 23 games for Florida State. So he played over the course of 2 seasons with Florida State. But once again, he was there more for depth purposes, if anything else. So not a major contributing loss. But at the same time, I don't think the DB room is super deep, but it opens you up a slot for the transfer portal. So once again, Sidney, farewell, man. We hope you the best. We hope that we can find. At the same time, it's tough to lose some depth in that DB room because I don't think it's super deep right now. And but once again, he's not a major contributor, so I expect them to go in the portal and find someone else. We got some comments here from David. Do you guys think that finding athletes in the portal to fill those critical roles better than maybe recruits should be dealt in the long term? David, I think that's a really good question. And something we brought up during the portal forecast show is that I think it's a very special balance you have to play, right? If you go too portal heavy, then you may lose some of those relationships with the high schools and the high school coaches that fill your early pipeline, right? It's like short-term gains versus long-term rewards, right? It's like stocks and bonds in a way, right? So if you go too hard in the portal, you're kind of you're like hedging your bets. You're doing these short-term bets because most of these guys, right, in the portal have 1 or 2 years left of eligibility. Some of them do have 3 or 4 years. And those are kind of like high school guys that you're bringing in that are still development projects. But I think Florida State has to make sure that they're not overly doing it with the portal guys. They need to make sure that they're bringing the best high school talent available for them and then saving the rest of the spots for the portal that can make guys who can make an immediate impact while those high school guys have a chance to develop. So, David, I think that's a great question. I think it's striking the right balance where you're not overly doing on the transfer portal because luckily Florida State has been great at finding talent and attracting that talent and getting them to commit in the transfer portal. Some teams aren't able to identify that talent in the portal and they commit the wrong guys. And then that turns out well. And then you have a bad high school recruiting cycle as well. Then you're screwed on both ends, right? Both high school and transfer. So Florida State's hitting on both on transfer portal right now, but I think they still need to double down the high school recruiting because that's one place like Mike Norvell, hasn't excelled so far in my eyes at Florida State. Top 15, top 15 classes, top 20 classes. Ideally, we would be in the top 10 for high school recruiting, which I think will get better as this record reflects for 20. I think we have the number 5 class in 24 right now. So I think if we can get both those engines going, I mean, the sky's the limit for this team. Bruce, what do you got to say?
I got a lot to say.
Well, thanks. Yeah.
I got a lot to say. First of all, let me address the comment. Put the comment back up. Why do you pull that down? Put it back up, David. I think the portal tool is the equivalent almost to the free agency of NFL. We are playing NFL minor league football at college now. That's what we're playing. Okay. So any coach, except who is it? Kirby Smart and Dabo, they don't use the portal. You know what? That may come back to bite them to say they don't use the portal. I think the portal is a very critical tool in the toolbox these days. I mean, it's been handed to coaches. To say that you're not playing in the portal, especially a team that's rebuilding like Florida State, is ridiculous. It's outrageous. And any coach that's trying to rebuild their program, i.e. Deion Sanders, is going to go to the portal quite a bit to rebuild. It's the quickest rebuilding tool that you have, because the development of a high school guy, I don't care how many stars he comes in with. And right now, Florida State really gets 3-star guys and a few 4-star guys. If they get a 5-star guy, it's like the lights come on, So we're really dealing with guys that may not make it at this level or be effective enough to be a playoff team in a, 12 playoff team format?
In 2 years.
Okay, in 2 years. Okay. So that's the answer to your question. You try to add both quality high school guys that you can develop in a year or two, and you're filling the rest of those slots in the rooms where you need the fill with portal guys.
Yeah.
That is the unique formula. You're not trying to be a mercenary army of total portal guys who are coming in and out every 1 or 2 years. That doesn't make it. The bulk and the backbone of your program has to still be the high school recruit.
And what you're seeing is a lot of these coaches that when they strike out, like if Mike's recruiting some 4 or 5-star, they'll recruit a lot more players, because if they strike out with a kid and he doesn't play, goes to Ohio State or Clemson or Alabama, and he doesn't play his freshman year and says, screw this, I'm leaving, and you came in second place in this high school recruiting, well, then he remembers you and he can transfer over. Yeah. So that's another tactic that coaches are now are deploying too, is like have a great connection with that player during the communication. Cycle. Yeah. So even if you don't win the first time, you can win the second time around once they go back in the portal.
You know what? It's kind of like family and friends. Stay in touch. Yeah. Some friends do that better than others. Some of your kids may do that better than others. Some of your relatives may do that. But if you stay in touch, there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't hurt. You don't have to have lengthy conversations. Stay in touch
when you legally can for the NCAA.
Well, stay in touch when you can. I don't know if it says you can't stay in touch with a kid. I don't know.
You can't.
I don't know. We'll have to look into that.
You can't be tampering.
Well, I'm not saying tampering. you maintain. No, wait a minute. I'm not done. You get to talk about the guys who left. Let me talk a little bit about the guys.
Yeah.
Okay. So, David, I think that's the answer to your question. I hope that's clear. Now, the guys who left, Chambry Jackson, he just didn't work out. That doesn't mean he doesn't have some talent. I think he was a 3-star coming in. He was, I think he was a 3-star. So his talent.
He was a top 25, 250 player. He was
okay. Well, for whatever reason, as an edge rusher, he is not developing enough to get into the depth chart to get onto the field. So I'm sure the feedback came to him, And it's honest feedback, and that's what you need to do. You need to be very honest with these kids of where they stand, okay? And that's important. So he didn't work out. Is that a big loss for the team? I'm going to be honest with you. Not a big loss. Not a big loss. He's a nice kid. Now wait a minute. Don't get me wrong. Don't jump on me here for a minute. I'm just saying these are all good kids. We wish them well, all of them. We hope they become superstars.
Well, we don't know who they are as people, but we wish them well in their next
year. We wish them well. We don't know all the reasons behind why they're leaving, but we wish them well. Yeah. So, but is it a big loss for our program? The answer is no. The next person is Keyshawn Hilton. Now, like Chambry Jackson, these guys were troopers. They stayed in the trenches. They went to work every day. They carried their lunch pail. They stayed on the sideline. They didn't get to play much, if at all. And they're troopers. And we appreciate that. And Mike Norvell appreciates that. The team appreciates it. And they left in a professional manner.
Yeah. Everyone's so fun. Well, with the exception of a couple guys, Seminoles the only one that hasn't left in the professional manner.
But they left. I just said those two guys. I didn't say anything about Sam McCall. Okay. It wasn't a blanket statement. Why are you calling me out on that? What's wrong?
Okay, I don't think we. Okay, go on.
Okay, wait a minute.
We covered the guys who left yet, like Amari.
Wait a minute. I'm giving my opinion on him. Okay. I wasn't there yesterday.
I know.
Jarrett Jackson, a guy couldn't get on the field. He was talked about a lot. I mean, we thought he would get on the field a lot, but apparently he's been hopped over in the depth chart and probably told we're going after guys in the portal. And we're going to bring guys in that have more experience, more reps, more snaps, and they're probably likely going to play ahead of you. That's honest feedback.
Well,
is it a big loss to lose Jarrett Jackson? It is not a big loss unless we don't bring anybody in.
That's the issue.
That's the issue.
You're not guaranteed to rank anybody in the portal.
If we don't bring guys in, it's a problem. Okay. Amari Gaynor, you've already talked about Amari. I agree with everything you say. He is probably the biggest loss I see to the program that contributed not only special teams, but on in-depth on linebacker. He is a stud. And I hope he goes someplace where his abilities can be recognized and where he can play a lot of ball. And I think he has a shot at the next level if he can play special teams well and play probably in the backup linebacker, but you never know. The guy's built like a rock. So, and again, he left in a professional manner. Rod Orr never developed on the offensive line. No loss there for the program. George Wilson, no loss there. I agree with your statements. You don't even hear anything about George Wilson. It's not even like he was on the team. He left in a professional manner. I give big points for that. Sidney Williams, yes, a player, a special teams guy, contributed in the defensive backfields. In the defensive backfield, and is a good player. I think he's going to get picked up. Sam McCall, he's a different story. We've already addressed him.
And he'll get picked up based on potential.
Yeah, Sam McCall could end up in Colorado with Travis Hunter and Deion Sanders in that crew. He could, but he has no film really. So you're potentially going to take him being a 5-star and what you know a little bit about him, and he'll get picked up. Now, whether or not George Wilson gets picked up, Rod Orr gets picked up, Jarrett Jackson gets picked up, I don't know.
All those guys are going to get picked up based on potential, based on what they had in high school, and based on potential, what does their body look like? Because they're going to visit all these schools. They'll visit some schools,
but they may have to
look at them. Are they in shape? Are they in shape? What did they look like now? Did they take care of their body throughout the season? So even if they didn't play, are they in game shape? Do they look good?
And I guarantee, and I don't know if this is against the rule. If I'm at Marshall and I'm looking at Chambry Jackson or Amari Gaynor,
call Coach Norvell.
Can I pick up the phone and call the defensive coach?
I believe they absolutely can.
Why couldn't you do that?
It's a reference call.
Yeah, it's a reference call. They do that in business. That's what this is.
And that's why
it was freaking business.
So big to see Mike Norvell put those statements out about Amari and about Keyshawn. Like that's like a reference letter for business. Like
absolutely. They were
out there like
not
that,
troublemakers. They were not troublemakers that we're aware of. Their character was decent that we are aware of, and they have the right to go out and find a place to play. They're no different. They're no different than about 1,000 guys now, and I mean that. It's about 1,000 plus guys who have gone into the portal so far this year. 1,000 plus people have gone.
And we're going to talk about who we're targeting there.
And so they deserve a right to play. Now, here's the problem. Let's say for a Rod Orr, who doesn't have much on tape, is a developmental, as you mentioned. What if he doesn't get picked up? He sits out till he gets picked up or goes to another school someplace and walks on. He then has to almost give up a scholarship. They've given up their scholarships. When they go into the portal, they've given up their scholarship positions back to Florida State. So they go into the portal with no scholarship. Yeah, they don't take a scholarship in there with them. They go in and they may have to join a squad as a preferred walk-on. So there is risk there when you do that.
Good stuff there. And just a couple of notes about guys who are actually staying real quick. You know, who are the what's going on at Dagby? Thanks for coming by. Let's talk about real quickly, because I do want to focus on who we're targeting here. But
can I say one thing first? I think we should say those are the guys. Those are the only ones I know that have gone into the portal, correct?
Those are the ones that have officially gone in the portal.
They've gone into the portal this season.
And I would expect probably another 3 to 10 to go.
But you know what? That's probably a good record. This is probably a good record for Coach Norvell in the program to show there's not a lot of people wanting to leave this program. Okay?
And I reiterate that.
Not a lot of kids trying to leave the program, but they're expected. And we should mention we have one person that has come in for next season, and that is Keziah Holmes from Penn State, the running back. And he looks going to be looking pretty good for our running back room, which is stacked at this point. So at this point for Florida State, we would say that it's been a quiet Florida State portal so far.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, I think there'll be more.
Bring in?
I think there'll be more. And a couple, just a word on who's confirmed that they're coming back, which I don't think is much of a surprise. I mean, some sites have said, "Oh, breaking news, so and so is coming back," which I didn't think it was breaking news. Jordan Travis has announced he's coming back.
Yeah, that was no surprise.
I thought it was a no-brainer.
Right.
I think he knows I think he has personal accomplishments that he wants to do. I think he thinks he can win the next season championship. Absolutely, that is possible next year. I absolutely think he can win some awards next year. Absolutely possible. But I also think he knows he's still a developmental quarterback in terms of his passing game. And I think it's absolutely smart of him to come back, define his skill, and they're going to give him the best shot if he wants to go to the NFL to come back and really develop himself as a full-fledged pass-first quarterback. So I absolutely think that's a right call, and I don't think there was any doubt he was going to not go to the NFL. Like, he was always going to come back. But once again, it's great to see confirmation early, because that tells other players in the portal, I want to play with Jordan Travis, wide receivers, tight ends. It's great to get that confirmation publicly. So even if we knew he was coming back, just to have that statement out there.
Well, that was fair. See, that was fair, not only for recruiting, but for the coaching staff that he respects, to give them notice. I'm coming back. You don't have to go into the portal to get an experienced quarterback.
And it's also a good recruiting tool to tell other receivers out there or tight ends that they may be recruiting, like, you're going to play with Jordan Travis. Yeah,
absolutely. But the main thing Coach Norvell needed to know, do I have to go out and get an experienced quarterback from the portal? What if Jordan Travis could drag this out? But he was a gentleman and of good character and a noteworthy Seminole to say, and every fan out there should recognize, he could have dragged this thing out for a while.
Yeah, no, you're right. He could have made some drama around it and said, try
to leverage this NIL money or whatever. But he didn't. He stepped up and said, "Coach, I'm coming back. That's my promise, and I'm coming back." That helps cement this program, and it's unfortunate. I wish Travis had 2 years left instead of 1. Because that second year would make a difference about the playoffs. because it expands during the year he's going to be gone.
Agreed.
But next year, this team is going to be positioned, more pressure on Coach Norvell and staff and the team to make a run at the ACC championship. It would be disappointing if they don't find themselves in that championship game.
Agreed. And exactly, that's exactly what we said. Just right on. We don't have much to say about them, but we wish them.
We wish them all the best.
And to go back to, like you said, great that Jordan Travis announced that early. Just great for everybody all around. True leader does that. Other guys who have announced, Micah Pittman, no surprise there. I think we still have not got the full potential of him. So great to, officially, I don't think he was going to leave because he would have to sit out a year, I believe, if he transferred again. Great to have him back. Winston Wright coming back. I think that's obvious, coming back from an injury. It'll be great to have him come back, rehab fully 100%, be another weapon in that wide receiver room. Then you have other announcements on the defensive side. Kalen DeLoach coming back. I mean, there could have been speculation that after the years he'd had, and I think he had some pretty good tape this year compared to last year. The development he's had year over year as a linebacker is, in my opinion, phenomenal. The guy looks totally different than he did 1 or 2 years ago. But he is announced.
Kalen DeLoach is an excellent player.
Yeah,
big contributor on this team, and will be a big contributor in 2023.
57 tackles, 5.5.
What he's trying to do is make himself a better linebacker and potentially get a little bit bigger. He's a little undersized for an NFL-sized linebacker. Okay, he's a little undersized. Okay,
yeah.
But he plays. I think he plays a lot of special teams as well as needed on special teams. And this guy can move. He's a great spy for this program when we need him to be that spy on a quarterback. I'm glad to see him come back. I think it's going to benefit him.
Yeah. And to that point, he also is smart too. And we may talk about tonight or another show, but he signed with the new FSU collective, Battle's End. And so he's made
We don't know what that deal was.
But I think that's another, he announced early he's getting paid, which is great. He's staying. And the whole mission of Battle's End is to retain roster versus high school recruiting. It's to retain roster. So I'm glad he's getting paid. I think he's played his butt off, and I'm glad to see it get done. Wendy says, I think Travis stating earlier has helped more guys from leaving as well. That's a great point. Seeing that there's going to be continuity in the QB room is definitely important, and that will keep receivers, keep guys in line who want to make a run at the ACC championship next year. So I think that's a great point. Okay, that's who Chris. That was one of the guys I had that we were going to talk about tonight.
What does that mean? Breaking. But
it was sort of going back and forth if he was coming or not. Because he wanted to be closer to his mom, who's sick and going through surgery up in the upper part of Florida. So, Christy, I will re-verify that. But if that is true, that's great. He's on our thumbnail tonight. So that would be a big get. As we discussed time over time, how we need a big guy on this line. He's 6'6", 300 pounds. Transfer from Maryland to Miami. Played pretty well last year. He's improved. He improved from his stats at Maryland to Miami. I think this is a great addition to that line. And we still don't know if Verse is coming back. So if Verse comes back on the edge and you have Darnell in the middle, and then you have Patrick Payton, Farmer, and those boys, and maybe Fabian coming back, you could have trouble. So Chris, thank you for that.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, and exactly talking about a ton of Miami players leaving, Alabama players leaving, Clemson players leaving. This is what the portal does. But let me get back real quick to who's staying.
Just as you mentioned that, I wanted to say at last count, which my last count was a little bit late last night. Alabama had 11 people in the portal. Virginia Tech had 12 people. Oregon had 13 players in the portal. Jackson State, no surprise, had 11 players in. Louisiana Tech 18, Colorado State 17, Texas A&M had 16 players.
Yeah,
and a lot of those guys are at least 4 stars probably, and some 3 stars. Arkansas 15. My last count, there was 1,000 FBS players as of Monday up to today, and there's more than that now.
in there. So this is a shopping frenzy for coaches. So the phone's got to be ringing, and you're recruiting them just like when you were recruiting them in high school. They're getting various offers.
Yeah. And that's a great point too. And you have to be careful too. I mean, signing day is coming up, and you haven't gotten those final signatures too. So you may see a hot commodity in the transfer portal. Does that affect the signature that you're about to get from a highly touted high school kid too? So that's something we brought up at the beginning of the show, which is like you said, we have to have a careful balance. These coaches do about, God, I see this hot prospect that I liked a year or two ago. Now he's available. Do I offer him? And that pisses off the 17-year-old that I want to get now, like I'm about to sign.
You know what? What? If you feel, I think it puts more pressure on the high school kids. I think it puts more pressure on the high school recruits to get signed onto a program before their slot. See, they didn't have competition except by other high school guys before. Now, there's not only pressure and competition between other high school recruits, but now you have more experienced college-fed guys, portal guys that are competing for the same positions. There's only so many spots on these rosters.
And there's even fewer, like you said. There's a lot less high school offers now going out than there were 4 or 5 years ago.
Absolutely. You might have, let's say, I'm just going to pick a number. Let's say you were sending out 20, you had 20 slots to fill, all 20 went out to high school. Now you may be filling 12 of those slots with portal guys. There's only 8 going up. So you may see early signees coming up here in late December. You may see early signees from high school jumping on that right away to guarantee their spot. There's no more wavering, waiting.
Exactly. There's going to be a lot less committable offers. And like you said, these top 25 schools don't have to be as picky anymore when it comes out. They don't have to make a reach for a prospect anymore because they think, okay, we can go in the portal and pick another player or the recruit we lost last year. He's going to be in the portal next year probably, so we can go after him again. We don't have to make these, extend all these offers or take the developmental kid who's a 3-star or 2-star and bring him in because we can go in the portal and find what we need most likely. So like you said, it's going to really affect the high school game, and kids, unfortunately for them, may have to go to a smaller school. Some of these fringers, who are on the cusp of maybe going to P5 may have to go to a group of 5 school or even lower and prove themselves before they get and then jump in the portal. So it'll be interesting to watch that progression.
Because why would you go if you're not getting the key high school equals deal dash? Yeah, that's true, Dagby. Why would you go for a questionable high school guy? Yeah. Okay, not questionable in character.
No, just talent. You don't know.
Because it's so hard to evaluate these guys. I don't care how many stars. Let's say he's a 3-star, and that's what Florida State's getting. Majority of the kids are getting are 3 stars, which are basically kind of unnknown quantities.
But their bodies aren't ready for the most time, too. They haven't been through a strength and conditioning program.
Right. We saw Sam McCall, 5-star, can't even get on the field. Okay, so we know it takes at least 2 years. Why will you give a slot to a guy like that when you can go to the portal and get a guy that's had some experience on the field, some reps? He's got a good character. He'll fit with the program. And he's been with their program, a college program of weightlifting, body development, good coaching, pushed hard for 1 or 2 years. You got to go with a portal guy.
I agree, and I think it's unfortunate too. I think it stinks for the high school kids who are working so hard to get these offers.
That's life.
I'm just stating a fact because a lot of these kids are ready, but now they're going to probably be looked over, like you said, for a college body and a college experience, even with
ready for what? You said ready for what? What are they ready?
I mean, some of these kids in high school, like a Camp Dave, like these 5-stars or high 4-stars. I mean. A lot of those guys are ready.
How many freshmen really come in and make a huge impact?
No, like I said, there's a small percentage that are ready to contribute right away.
Very small.
But like you said, would you rather the redshirt freshman who's sat out of the program but has been through the strength and conditioning program for a year?
Understands the college. He's already been in. He knows the routine.
Exactly. So I think you're going to see a lot less kids. You're going to see a lot of kids that go to smaller colleges that then move their way up because they'll sit at a Sunbelt college, not saying that, but they'll play at an App State or James Madison or something like that, and they'll dominate. and then they're going to move on to the bigger colleges just because they didn't get the offers in high school.
Yeah, why do you think we have, how many, the last count some months back on the offensive line, we have like 18 guys, 18 offensive linemen. Yeah. Why do you think we have so many? Because most of the time when they come out of high school, they're not even close to being ready. They were big guys. They were 300 pounds, 280 to 310 pounds. They're 6'2", 6'6", and they bullied kids in high school on very questionable opponents in high school at times. Do you think they're playing the top caliber high school teams every week? Maybe IMG Academy. Wait a minute. Maybe no.
IMG doesn't play top. They played a made-up school twice in Canada and one in Ohio.
Okay, but you understand what I'm saying. Why do you think we have 18 of these guys? We're trying to get 5 or 6 to develop.
I get it. I know. I get it.
They just never developed, and without getting my grandson ticked off at me again of what I said about offensive linemen, and no disrespect, but they're the hardest guys to judge. No, anybody in football will tell you they're the hardest guys to judge. They're the slowest guys. They're not the quickest guys. They're not the most agile guys.
Yeah.
Otherwise they'd be on the defensive line. That's how it works.
No, it's like you said. Going back to who.
Sorry, grandson.
Who is staying? One more player staying. So far we've had 5 guys confirmed that they are staying. The last one being, so we've done Jordan Travis.
Well, everybody on this team is not going to say, "I'm staying. I'm staying." Do you think
they are in this day and age? People who you thought were staying are already staying. No, just the things we. Just let me finish. Just let me finish my statement, okay? The players who are on the fringe, juniors or draft eligible guys, will make a statement because of the implications on the portal. So they will probably be instructed to either make a statement or do it because of that's what social media is doing. It's going to be one of those 2 things. I'm just telling you the way it is. So if they are eligible or have potential to, they will. Just to confirm, I'm staying, or they want to do it for social media. Like I'm just saying. So that next person who's staying is Jarian Jones, who I don't think any of us, he may have, I don't think most of us thought he was going to go NFL. But it's a confirmation
not ready.
He is staying, which I think is good for him for further development. He is also being signed by the Battle's End Collective, so he's going to get paid. Maybe that played in his decision not to test the NFL. I think either way, it was smart for him. Stay in college, get a degree, get more developmental playing time, and get paid on the NIL side. So I think it works out. You continue to have that depth at DB. I still think you need to recruit in the portal at DB, but it's glad to have that experience back in that room. So he is coming back as well. So those are the 5 players that have confirmed so far.
I want to ask you something. Well, do you think the entire depth chart of the first and second level players on the depth chart need to come out on social media and tell us they're staying?
Sorry, say that again.
Do you think the guys on the depth chart need to go into public media and say they're staying?
But they don't know.
Okay.
It's what they want to do.
Well, no.
It's a social media obsessed society.
Listen. Well, that's what they want to do, what the kids want to do.
Yeah, and they're kids.
If I'm the coach, I want to have a meeting with my players at probably after the Florida game sometime, before the bowl game. That's a different deal. But I want to have before the portal started, before early signing day, I want to have a sit down with each player. Okay. I want to bring them into my office. I want to have the position coach talk to them, and then they can come to me, and I want to ask them, son, are you staying? I need to know that, and here's why. I have filled positions here.
They've done this.
Can I plan on you staying? Is there a reason you would not want to? Let's discuss it. And then he just checks them off. If a kid decides to go to the social media platform and let everybody know that he's staying, that's okay. That's cool. But don't think because we haven't heard from certain guys that they're not staying.
No.
Now, that doesn't mean they are or they aren't.
Okay.
But I think wait a minute.
We've been on this point for a little too long.
Wait a minute. I want to tell Seminoles out there, you don't need to go to the media. You don't have to. Just
I don't think they care what you think.
You stay. Well, they might care. Maybe I don't
think Jordan Travis is like, what does the old man think I should do on my social media account?
You know what?
Should I change?
You know
should
what?
I
you know
not
what?
announce?
You know what? It's not bad to have a number of people giving opinions. Okay. And I said to Jordan Travis on this program, you can go back, find the tape. I said, Jordan, you need to stay.
I told you to stop DMing him. I told you to stop.
I'm not saying he did it because of me. I'm not that arrogant. Okay. But what I'm saying is, we're not going to hear from every guy as he's staying. He didn't come out with a statement. Don't expect that. We don't need that. No. We don't need Johnny Wilson to come out and say, I'm staying or I'm not staying.
Well, I'm just saying, if you see it, don't be excited or get alerted. But it's just, things are going to happen like that.
Don't make assumptions or get upset and have anxiety if a kid doesn't come out and say he's not staying. True. The coaching staff has already gone through the roster, talked to everybody.
Okay. Wendy makes a great point about now with high school versus portal recruiting that the national signing day for all sports except for football is November 9th, but for football, it doesn't begin until December 21st. So the portal predates. So that's the issue, is that high school players, like we kind of talked about, kind of get screwed in this process because they can't actually early sign now before the portal actually opens. So college coaches get the first
I don't think
hit.
it has much impact.
Well, I think it does.
I think the impact is it puts pressure on early signees. I think you will see
which is most
more
players
early signees. Well, it's fine, but they're not going to fill. You think we're going to fill all the positions before December the 21st?
We've been signing smaller high school classes because of the portal.
Okay. No, I understand that, but it puts more pressure on the high school kid to sign during the early.
That's what I'm saying. That's what we're saying. It puts the high school kid in a tough position to say, where do I want to go? Like, I have to figure this out and make a commitment. So no, that's what we're saying.
Yeah.
And Dagby, what should be the program's yearly procurement backbone, high school recruiting transfer?
Yeah,
and we kind of talked about this at the beginning. It has to be a careful balance of both. Transfer portal is a very short-term benefit in my eyes. High school recruiting is a long-term benefit to your team. Find the right high school players that you're like, these are the 10 guys we want to bring in to be either, to develop in the program, fit positions, quarterback, running back, positions like that where you're going to develop them, versus who are the short-term needs that we have for portal, defensive end, where injuries, stuff like that. So I think it's got to be a careful balance. You can't lean heavily one way because it could go off kilter 1 year, right? If you don't get the offers, commitments from the transfer portal, then you screwed yourself, right? Because you don't have that pipeline of high school talent that you've brought in year after year. So it's got to be a careful balance. Those coaches have to be on top of it. So I think it's got to be like a 60-40, high school portal, or 50-50, something like that. But it's a good question. It's definitely a good question. I'm sure the coaches are like, okay, do we have all our bases covered in case you strike out? Because it could definitely screw you if you don't hit all your commitments.
It looks like, by the way, on that breaking news, that defensive lineman Darnell Jackson from the Miami We Hate Hurricanes. I don't hate you, Darrell. I just
Darnell
Jackson. Darnell. Well, they put it out here wrong then, but it is.
Oh, sorry, you're right. Darnell Jackson. You're right.
He's in the fold. Okay.
So he signed.
Yeah, he's 6'6", 300 pounds. He's from Havana, Florida. So that is a big get. And Havana, Florida is up north. Okay. So
his mom is
from there. So
I don't know if his mom was having certain.
I don't know if we recruited him. Did Florida State recruit him?
Out of high school, I think we did. If anyone in the chat knows,
we're going to assume that Coach had a relationship with him, and that he's come home. I hope he's come to this team with the right feelings. And I know his mom's sick.
Yeah.
He wants to be closer to his mom. He wants his mom to come see his games. Of course he does. And that's more important than football.
And so this is the thing with it too.
He's a big get.
He will have to sit out unless he gets a waiver from the NCAA. That's the big thing with this pickup. So because he transferred from Maryland, now he's transferring from Miami, he will have to get and they think because of the family situation that he'll be able to most likely get that waiver from the NCAA.
Most of those waivers are given if it's proven by medical. They'll have to have all the documentation, the doctor's statements, and they can gather all that up. They can gather all that up. Thoughts, prayers go out to his mother, no matter what team he's on.
Yeah.
No matter what team he's on. But they'll get all that documentation. I'm sure that's already been looked at, taken care of. And this is a big pickup for the defensive line.
Absolutely. Even better if he can play right away. If not, then he'll be in the fold for years to come. And it's even better that he's closer to his family, because we know that's important to him. Because he said there was no love lost with Miami, but he wanted to be closer to home. And he's a big talent. So hopefully he can play right away. If he can't, then we have him for depth in going forward.
And this goes to your point, KB, that we talked about earlier, I think to Dagby's, and was it Mike or someone early in the program? We started talking about, do we want high school guys? Yes, we want high school guys for the backbone of this program. Any championship program, the backbone will be from the high school recruitment people and retention. Here's what Darnell Jackson, as a portal guy, brings to your program over a high school defensive tackle. Darnell Jackson brings to your program, first of all, he's 6'6", 300 pounds, 639 snaps of experience.
Yep.
Okay, if what I'm getting is true here.
Yep.
16 pressures on a quarterback, 3 sacks. Okay. And he grades out basically at a 72.4, which is in the green area. So, I mean, this guy's still developing. This guy could be a force.
Yep.
Okay. So this guy, and I don't know how many years he has remaining.
He'll have, I believe, 2 if he gets the hard.
I would say at least 2. Okay.
He'll get the yeah.
So anytime you get a portal guy with at least 2, maybe the guy leaves early, but I think most of these 2-year guys will stay. Then you've won the battle. It's not even comparable who you're going to give the slot to, high school or a guy like this.
And it's great. Like you said, he's going to apply for that hardship waiver due to his mom and her health issues. So we wish her well. And he also was teammates with Joshua Farmer at Gadsden County High School.
Farmer. He knows Farmer, and he's talked to Farmer, and he knows what he's getting into.
So there's definitely a connection there. So he's excited. We're excited. So thanks again for whoever, I believe it was Chris in the chat who broke that to us. So Chris, thanks for the heads up there. We love that. So, and we're glad to have him on board. So welcome to the team, Darrell. We're glad to have you, whether it's this year or next year or the year after.
Mother, because that's more important
100%.
than anything you
100%
do,
more
including
important.
football.
Yeah, absolutely. But so we're glad to have him. Let me
ask you this.
Yeah.
What are we doing about the quarterback situation?
Well, let's get into who we're targeting in the portal, and that plays into that conversation. As far as I know, QB is not of importance in the portal right now. It's not.
I see. This is where I disagree. Do you think that is, or you're saying that's what they think?
We're not going after quarterbacks right now because none of our existing quarterbacks have portaled. And 2, you have a 2023 commit coming in, Brock Glenn, he's not going to play. I know he's not going to play, but you're going to have 2 quarterbacks staying
who have no experience.
Yes, don't say it. One of them just won you the Louisville game. What are you talking about? No experience.
I'm not.
Just because you don't like the kid doesn't mean he doesn't have experience. Because you use that excuse every show.
I didn't say
use that excuse every show.
I didn't say I didn't like Tate.
Yes, you said he's awkward on the field.
I think he is awkward.
But that doesn't mean he has experience.
But I didn't say I didn't like him.
To a victory.
I didn't say that. No,
so,
I didn't.
If he doesn't have
fans, did I say I didn't like him?
What is your threshold for experience then? What is your threshold for
experience? My threshold for experience is more than what Tate has. That's all I care about.
That's not a metric. That's not a metric.
Well, I'll say 3 games. Okay, he's
played in more than 3 games.
I'm talking about starting 3 games. Okay, that's my threshold. So the question I'm pitching out to you and to the fan base, and I'd like the fans to comment on this, is do we need to bring in the right guy, not for a starter, but as an experienced backup? Do you think Tate meets the definition of an experienced
It's not going to happen. I'm
not asking you that. I'm asking, do you think he meets the experienced-based quarterback we need as a backup?
I'm not going to talk about hypothetical situations that aren't going to happen.
Oh, okay.
It's just not going to happen.
We'll wait. Then I want you to.
What type of quarterback is going to come and want to sit behind 2 guys, 3 guys?
There may be a guy there.
Who?
There may be a guy there.
Who?
I don't know who. I don't have a.
You didn't come with the guy that would want to come in and be targeted for this room, because you said that we should be able to get a guy, right? Who's the guy? Who's the guy?
Well, you know what?
Who's the guy?
You call up some guys.
Who's the guy?
You know, JT Daniels doesn't want to be the guy. There's other guys. If I pulled up all the names, I could say this guy doesn't. But here's a guy that may want to.
No, we were just celebrating that victory, that commitment. We were just celebrating that, so we're glad to see that.
There may be a quarterback.
JT Daniels is not coming to Florida State.
I just said he wasn't.
Who would you want?
I don't know. I'd have to look and see.
Guys don't like that exist. They don't want to come and sit. That's why they go in the portal in the first place, right?
How about the kid that left Colorado? Maybe he wants to get the hell out of Deion Sanders' way and come, and he has 3 years left, and he's willing to compete with Tate for the backup. How about that kid? I don't know.
They kind of went 1-11.
I'm just throwing out names to you. A guy that has been understaffed more than Tate. And I don't dislike Tate. I just don't have the confidence that I need as my backup. Okay, that's all. That's all I'm saying. You're saying we're not going to the portal for one.
I don't believe they are unless one of these kids portals.
I'd love the fans out there listening to us to see what they have to say. If they want to say, do you think we need a backup from the portal? Yes or no? Just say yes or no.
I would love to hear everyone's thoughts on if
they
think it's realistic.
Yes or no. Yeah.
Because I don't think it's realistic. And the kid who just hit the portal from Colorado has only played in 4 games with 57 completions and 2 interceptions.
Do you think that's more? Do you think that's more than
I don't think that's worth shaking up the room for.
Do you think Tate has how many completions does Tate have?
Tate has
1 game. Here. Okay. That's all. I don't want to belabor this point. I am not at high confidence that if Jordan goes down, that Tate has the confidence, has built the confidence to take over this team.
I agree with you. I agree with you. But if at this point, Mike Norvell, that's on Mike. If Mike sees that because Mike has to think out these scenarios, right? He's got to have this map out of like, if Jordan Travis gets hurt, this guy comes in, can he lead us to a winning season? And if he believes that in his mind that, okay, Tate's ready to go, I've had him in the system now next year for 3 years, he's where I think he should be, then we have to believe in that vision for him.
I don't have to believe in anything.
Well, it's his job. That's his job. If he's betting his job that Tate can't do it, then he's going to crash and burn. He'll get criticized every week.
He's right.
So I have to believe in it.
But see, he's also, not only is he thinking about next year, but he's going to be thinking about 2024 as well. When this playoff thing expands and he has an opportunity. Because next year after the 2023 season, we're going to lose a slew of people. Okay?
Yeah. David says, can any backup right now on the team compete with Tate for the second spot?
AJ Duffy. That's the only guy that's going to compete with him
on the roster right now. Yeah, AJ Duffy.
That's it.
Like I said, I don't know if they're going to go after a guy. I don't know if anyone would want to come in. If you got some guy from FCS maybe who had decent experience, was like, I want to come in and compete. I just don't know if anyone wants to sit on the bench behind JT because they know they're not going to get the starting position unless a dramatic injury happens, and it didn't happen this year. So
you might find a guy. You might find an elite guy at the FCS
not an elite guy. Because that guy's going to find a job in P5 or Group of 5 team. He'll find a job if he's elite at that level.
Right.
You would have to find some mid-tier guy that backed up there. He'll back up here then.
I'm just saying the quarterback room behind Travis is inexperienced and I don't have the confidence that he can take over this team. That's my opinion.
And Jackie says Tate's clearly the second. They say he's clear, and I agree. And like you said, I'm not confident in it, but I have to believe Mike. He must see it. He must see it in practice, and he must believe. And I didn't believe it, but look at the Louisville game.
Well, I got to believe. I'm not sure with the Dagby here saying they say he's clearly second in line. I think AJ Duffy is going to be competing with him.
Well, I don't want to think about that. I don't want to think about that in 2 years. I really don't.
Okay.
I don't, because that's a whole other conversation. I don't want to see either of those guys right now.
You may be right. You may be saying most
AJ
teams don't know
smiles
that.
way too much for a freshman for me. I don't like that smiling after an incompletion. That's just my personal thoughts, but he's a kid. I understand.
What do you mean? Smiles after he throws an incompletion?
Yeah, I don't like. Yeah, but
Well,
that's his personality.
That's
It's just not me.
That's his
But
personality.
I know that's not on him. That's on me. But I think Duffy is the heir apparent in my eyes. But like you said, Tate is going to have a shot at it because if he stays in the system, he'll be here for 3 years by that, or 3 or 4 years by that time. But then you got Luke.
How about the two guys former guys that were coming to Florida State or in the portal now that are QBs? Would you take one
Luke
of them?
Altmyer, he's not going to come and sit again. That's why he's leaving.
Yeah.
And the other kid, what's the other kid's name? I don't even remember his name.
I forget his name. Would you take either one of them back?
No.
No.
I mean, if they want to sit, yeah, absolutely. If Luke wants to come here and sit behind JT, absolutely, and compete for the second spot, 100%.
Yeah.
I would take Luke Altmyer back if he wants to sit behind JT and compete for the second spot. He should have just stayed committed because he would have to sit. So Keith says Tate has improved, going to be difficult to find a transfer he wants to back up. Totally agree with you, Keith. Totally agree with you. I think Tate has improved. We saw in the Louisville game. It's just you don't see it a lot.
I would look for one.
Okay, well, we'll find out. So let's talk about guys who are on our radar and offers that have gone out so far. Do you want me to start? I have a couple of.
Go ahead.
So a couple of guys I know Florida State has extended offers to. One is Jason, and I'm gonna butcher this name because I haven't pronounced it. Maitre at Boston College. So he is a defensive back. So once again, you lose a defensive back, you gain a defensive back potentially. He's got a good amount of experience at Boston College.
I bet he did.
And they struggled last year. But as you can see on Eagles
saw
Insider,
a lot of balls.
Yeah, I mean, he struggled a lot against Florida State in particular, which they actually point out in the article. But he started all 12 games last season for them. I think the big thing with him is that he comes with a lot of experience in the backfield. I don't think he's going to be this all-star defensive back that you bring in. But he's kind of a up and down guy. He'll have breakout performances, then he'll come back to earth a little bit. But it's the fact that they use him both as a cornerback and safety, which is the biggest part of his game, is that he's versatile. And that's what Florida State likes, is guys that can move around the field. And so that's why I think they offered him, is that one, for his experience, and two, he's played against ACC competition. He's used to the quarterbacks in this league. And three, his versatility about playing cornerback and safety. So I think this is a good offer for depth in the DB room.
Do you think when they're recruiting this guy in the portal, any guy they recruit in the portal, do you think they see him as a potential starter?
No.
Well, why would he come here then? Why would he leave?
They rotate guys. Do you want to be? Would you rather be on like a 2-win team or compete for an ACC championship?
Yeah, well, that's probably true.
I mean,
I give you that one.
And potential NIL money. If they say we can hook you up and you could be on an ACC championship competing team, absolutely.
That's probably true. That's reasonable.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then Dagny's talking about the QB that will have the experience of the FBS P5 level. I agree. That's what you would.
You're not going to get that out of a Sam McCall or any high school recruit, and mostly we're getting most of our defensive backs that we're bringing in are 3 stars. I'm not big on this star system. I think it's all kind of
doesn't matter once you're in the portal.
I think it's all smoke, and I think it doesn't matter. It's not that big a deal.
So another guy Florida State has, I don't know if I believe they have offered. Is a defensive lineman from Western Michigan. This guy is highly, highly sought after. Like you can see here, he's visited Notre Dame.
Western Michigan's an FBS program.
Yeah. They indeed are. They're not high up there, but they definitely are an FBS program. But in the same vein, kind of under recruited.
If Notre Dame has interest in the guy must be pretty good.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
He's got to have good academics.
He's kind of on the. Well, you don't necessarily go to Western Michigan for their academics.
No, I said he must have decent academics to go to Notre Dame.
Oh, true.
So he's not going to have academic issues, which is important.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's 6'5", 300 pounds, a big guy. Like I said, defensive end position. So, I think he's kind of in the same mold as Jared Verse in terms of under recruited kind of a breakout guy at a lower level. And like you can see, he is being highly sought after in the portal. And this
You
is
said
guy,
we offered him?
yes, we offered him almost immediately, I believe.
Okay. Okay.
So this is a guy to have on your radar. If we can land him along with Darrell in the interior line, I think you're in a great position on the defensive line. Because that Darrell, if he can
We
play,
may have an inside edge on that, basically because of Jermaine Johnson, because of Jared Verse, because we've been bringing in, and we have a great coach there, coaching them up at defensive end and being able to push them off into the NFL. I mean, that could be an inside take. And why wouldn't you want to play in more pleasant weather than snowy Notre Dame?
Well, he's probably used to it playing at Western Michigan, so it probably doesn't bother him.
Well, come to Florida. Come to Florida if you're listening.
But this season, just for a snapshot, he had 5 sacks, 58 tackles, 2 forced fumbles, 3 deflected passes. So, I mean, he's got production tied to his name. Once again, lower competition. But he's played 3 seasons just for they played at Michigan State this year. He had 5 total tackles, 2 solos, 1 forced fumble, 1 tackle for loss against high level competition at Michigan State.
That's a good day.
So I think that's where he flashed. That's probably the game tape that everyone saw was like, okay, this guy could play at the next level. And then even against Pittsburgh, he had 6 tackles, a half a tackle for loss, and 2 solos. So this is a guy that can get on the edge and make solo tackles, which is what you want to see. I absolutely think this is a high priority candidate for Florida State, and someone you hope to land, because if you can match him, like I said, on the interior with Darrell, this is going to be a pretty big pickup. So far.
I think we're gonna. Stars are fairly relative, but a good reference.
Yeah.
I mean, to a point. But I think the Sam McCall thing is also.
I think we're punting on him. I think he still has a
superstar, big recruit, couldn't get on the field. Okay, so I think it's relative. I think she's, the comment by Dagby is it's fairly relative. I think you put it into the body of work. Okay, you put it. Jared Verse had no stars that I'm aware of. He didn't get to the camps or the special weekend things. He didn't do any of that. So he kind of went under the radar. Type thing. So I think it's a reference point like anything else, but it's very subjective. It's a very subjective type of scoring system,
And the last guy I'll mention that I know we've offered for sure, and I think was kind of announced yesterday, was a receiver that you may or may not be.
We offered this guy.
Yeah, Rod Thomas, Mississippi State.
And I thought this was kind of interesting. Why?
Yeah. So this could point to a couple things.
That somebody's going to leave.
You're expecting attrition from the receiver room.
Yeah, right.
So that means you should expect someone to be leaving or announcing they're leaving somewhat soon.
This might force someone out.
Well, yeah. It sends a sign that you're trying to recruit over somebody.
And who would that be in our?
Well, I'm afraid it may be someone we mentioned in our show. A couple of Malik McLean, Portier.
Portier, Warren Thompson.
Yeah, Warren Thompson. He hasn't been.
I thought he was.
Oh my God, he's literally transferred, and he's transferring again to another team. What are you?
Okay,
where are you?
Yeah. Okay. I'm just thinking out loud. Give me a break.
That guy's been gone so long. He's on to his second team.
Look,
second team.
I apologize.
God.
I did have a little sangria earlier.
Yeah, I can tell. But this should be an indication that someone's going to leave.
Okay, who do you think it would be?
I hope it's not Malik McLean or Kentrell. I like both those guys.
Listen, when you offer another guy in a deep, we always say the wide receiver room is very deep. Now we're offering to another guy, and you're thinking of getting Winston Wright back. So where is this guy going to fit in?
I don't know. I like his stats.
I thought it was strange.
A lot of eligibility left. I think he's got 2 years left this season. Just looking at stats, he's grown from season to season in terms of his production. So his freshman year, 252. This last year, over 600 yards. He's a touchdown maker, and that's what this team needs: is guys who can produce on the receiver end. Johnny Wilson faded towards the end of the year. Maybe this is to push the room and just say, guys, we're going to bring in playmakers. This guy's this guy's a playmaker. Let's look at his long.
Well,
touchdowns.
let me ask you this from a coaching philosophy, because I'm sure the head coach and they talk about
But
this.
yeah, we are coming
We're
this year.
coming.
Florida State's ramping up.
coming.
They're going for it all next year. They're going
No,
for it all
hey, you
next
know
year.
what Dion said? Maybe he's saying this is kind of funny.
Oh,
Putting in. Dion said, "Tell them. Anybody ask you about me? Say, tell them I'm coming. I'm coming." And let me say this while we're on this. Any college football fan, okay, it doesn't have to be FSU, it could be anybody. If you have not seen the Dion video on YouTube of when he talks to the Colorado Buffalo team, it is unbelievable. It's unbelievable how KB, did you see it? I sent it to you. Did you see it or not?
I don't think it's any different than some coaches talk to him, but everything Dion does is recorded. No, but that's different. Everything Dion does is recorded for social media. That's
crazy. Listen, that's who he is.
I know.
You think he did that as an act?
A little bit, yeah.
What are you talking about?
You don't record every second of your coaching life if you're not acting some of it.
He is recording to a 1-10 team. He would have said the same thing whether the recording is on or off.
But you don't think Mike Norvell talked to the team the same way when he inherited Willie Taggart's crap roster and culture?
I can't wait till you see how you compare Mike Norvell's press conferences with Deion Sanders.
Oh no, Deion's a whole nother level. I'm not
here to beat up Mike Norvell tonight.
Deion's a whole media personality.
Let me finish. He is, and he's always said this. I'm very direct and I'm very transparent with my team, with my program.
Yeah.
Some people are beating him up on this stuff, but he told that team.
Okay, I don't want to spend all my time
into the portal. No, I'm just saying.
I don't want to spend, we're not talking about college.
Here is my point. My point to you is when we go out and offer another wide receiver, should we care about what the kids we already have in the wide receiver, how they feel? Or are we just looking to produce? That's what I'm asking you.
It's a good question. The thing is, I think you do think about it.
It's a sensitivity thing. Do we care? Are we trying to be too sensitive? Is a guy who's really, this is what's going to happen.
The only issue is the culture of the locker room. If every player's on pins and needles, like, am I going to be cut? Like, am I going to be cut? Am I going to be cut? Like, that's not a healthy culture. If you're always like, it is good to be always on your edge in terms of like, I need to produce, I need to work hard. But if like you can't trust your coach or like looking behind your back that you're going to be recruited over after your coach said, no, we brought you in for a reason to do this. And if you work hard, you're secure. But like some of that it's great in the beginning. Like I don't disagree with what Deion did. I think it's great. Like in terms of like, guys, I'm being truthful with you. Get in the portal. I'm going to recruit over you. Yeah. I don't think that's wrong. And I think it's a different way of doing things, but he's honest. And I like that. I appreciate that. But at the same time, if you do that too much, it can sometimes sow seeds of discontent in your locker room.
He's not going to do it all the time. That was his first meeting.
Okay, exactly. I don't want to.
No, that's okay.
Okay, I don't want to talk about Deion all night.
The whole transition is not about Deion. The whole transition is when you offer a guy in a heavily crowded. We're coming. In the words of Prime. There you go, Red Dollar. When you have a crowded room, what kind of message are the guys talking about now?
No, and I agree. I don't think you should ever stop recruiting playmakers, and that's a good point. I think a guy like Rara, he shows production. He's still a young player. He's still growing, and I think he's looking to get to. He sees that, as Mike Norvell would say, this is an offense built for playmakers.
Yeah.
Well, come on, man! Like, come in and play with JT. I think this is what you can sell to him, and like you said, you shouldn't be afraid to bring in playmakers to hurt feelings. If you're afraid of hurting feelings, then you're not going to make – Nick Saban doesn't care about hurting feelings.
No.
Deion Sanders doesn't care about hurting people's feelings.
No.
If you can get a playmaker like this, you bring him in, you let everything else sort itself out.
This isn't about feelings anymore.
Yeah.
This is a business. We are the minor leagues of the NFL, and the whole college model is being set up that way.
Yeah. And so, Dagny, to your point, I think it's not necessarily more receivers are needed. I think it's I think more consistent playmakers in the because I do think you saw some drop balls from Johnny Wilson. Do Span, is that project going to develop? He never emerged. We knew that was going to be a project. Now, do they see him and they think, well, this may never fulfill itself, and even in the long term, or maybe Deuce transfers again. Maybe he's like, I'm done. I don't want to do this at Florida State.
It wouldn't surprise me.
So maybe they're anticipating.
He's not going to play that much at Florida State. He's going to be the end around guy.
I think they're anticipating roster churn, or they're like, we need a guy that can consistently go out for routes, and Deuce is the guy right now. So we need another playmaker, which I don't doubt them for.
He's not the guy.
And Keith, with some breaking news here, rumors are Versus is staying.
Well, that's rumors. That's not breaking.
Yeah, no, but it's a good rumor because I thought he was leaving totally, and he hasn't said he's not.
Let me say this to Jared Versus.
He's playing the bowl game.
If he's listening,
he's not listening.
Jared, you don't know who's listening or not.
Jared Versus not listening.
You don't know who's listening or not. Jared, if you're out there, just like I said to Jordan Travis,
not listening.
You are not ready to go to the NFL. That would be a mistake. Get one more year to develop your skills. You're 1 year out of FCS. 1 year. You need one more year, develop your skills, and then you're ready to go. You could call up Jermaine Johnson, and he will tell you there's a big jump between where you are now and who you're playing, and when you're playing the best offensive tackles ever. Okay? So listen to what I'm telling you.
Yeah. And
Jared, and let me predict this. Okay. 85% chance. I say this, and I'll eat it if I'm wrong. Jared Verse will stay.
I think that would be amazing.
He wants some reason to stay. He wants a reason to stay. They're working that out with NIL.
Yes.
And he wants a reason to stay, maybe an insurance policy, but that's it. I think he's staying one more year. His stock will rise, get in the weight room. Red 100%. Dollar, you're right. 100%. To me, he doesn't look big enough. He is not going. He'd be a guy they put in on a passing on. He cannot hold up to the run right now. He is. 100%. Florida buried him. They buried him.
They were scheming him.
I don't want to hear this.
They were scheming him though. I mean, but you'll get like you said, two guys in Florida can take you. One guy in the NFL can take you.
Absolutely.
So that's a good point, Riddell. Yeah. Adagby says keeping guys on their toes and always feeling uneasy isn't healthy for an individual or program.
Well,
there should be some level of job security. It become form of abuse. I do, and that's what I was kind of saying before. Is that you can use that language every so often. If guys always feel insecure about where they are in the program, it can sow those seeds of distrust, and that's not healthy. So
no, there's a difference between sensitivity on healthiness and competition. You want competition in there. So how you develop that is I think you with competition there are going to be people who are left out.
But if a guy like Kentron say he's like, what else do I have to show you? I catch the balls, I run the routes, I only get 10% of the snaps. What more do I have to show you, coach? And then you go bring in Rod Thomas. Like, that's where there could be that frustration for a guy, right?
Well, you have to explain it to the room.
I agree. So, but this also could be a spot filler for Keyshawn Helton leaving, too. So, a guy leaves in the receiver room, you bring him in, then you have another guy on the roster.
Well, that would be, if they replace Keyshawn with Rara, I think they've upgraded the position greatly.
So, but you also have Hakeem coming in.
That's no disrespect.
No. But
and then you've got high school receivers coming in. Hakeem, right?
Yeah, Hakeem coming in this next year.
Yeah,
he's going to want to, I think, fight for some playing time. But this may give him some time to develop at the college level.
Absolutely.
So those are three guys. I know we have offers out for. Are there guys that you think we should be targeting? We need to wrap this up sometime soon. We're going.
Well, here's the thing. Here's one. We can wrap this up with this. You don't hear anything about the kicking game. Now, our special teams overall was greatly productive this season. They were very productive, except for the field goal thing. I have a lack of confidence in Fitz. Okay. He still hasn't won me over just like Tate hasn't. They're good kids. I don't have any disrespect for them. I think Fitz. I don't think Coach Norvell can say he's won him over. He may say that publicly, but in his mind, we're lucky we didn't really have a game this season that came down to a kick. We didn't really have a game that came down to a kick. Okay, now I'm talking about the wide lefts and the wide rights in those days where the game came down to the final 3 seconds. You got to make the kick, and it either goes through or it doesn't. I'm not sure that Fitz is that guy. The question is, do we bring in, are we looking at a kicker somewhere?
Yeah.
And there's not many of those guys in the portal.
Yeah. Okay. No, those guys are even harder to evaluate because they can go 20 for 20 one season, and the next season they go 5 for 20.
Right.
Most of the FSU's roster should return. Totally agree. They need more development. Some need more accomplishments to prepare for them for the next level. I totally agree with that. So hopefully, like you said, whether they announce it or not, I think you'll see a lot of Florida State roster come back once again because this team did succeed at a high level this year. They want to come back and do even more with it, and they'll get a spotlight next year even more. So I totally agree. Versus transferring to a new program.
Let's remember this: they could bring a kid in, let's say one of the offensive linemen, and tell him, you're not developing as fast as we thought you would in year 1 or year 2.
Yeah.
It may be a better move for you to go to a smaller FBS school or to an FCS school, okay, to get to play, to get the reps you need.
Yeah.
That kid does not have to leave and give up his scholarship. They cannot, unless you tell me if I'm wrong, they cannot revoke his scholarship and take it away from him because he's not developing. I don't know they can do that. So
a scholarship's a year-to-year contract.
A guy could stay there.
Yeah.
Once you issue him that scholarship, it's not a year-to-year thing that I'm aware of.
It is. That's essentially a year-to-year.
I don't think so.
It's not a 4-year
commitment.
Telling me
it's not a 4-year commitment.
Back? It's not a 4-year
commitment. I don't
commitment.
know. I could be wrong.
It's not a 4-year commitment. But moving on. Okay. So a couple of other guys I just want to put on everyone's radar that I'm excited about potentially that I think Florida State should go after, which I'm sort of disappointed that we aren't maybe in the run for, is the tight end position. I think everyone probably listening right now thinks that and knows that with we're losing Cam McDonald.
Did they offer that guy, that FCS guy?
Getting there.
Okay.
Veteran guy, Cam McDonald leaving, not the most dynamic of playmakers, just, did some blocking, did some catching, dropped some balls.
He's not a Sean O'Leary.
No, just there when you need it. Man, the skater of ours had one job, struggle to do that. Red, I think we both agree with you.
Yeah,
I don't want to rehash that and get a migraine.
Okay, we've rehashed that, but he agrees with me.
But I think one guy that should be on everyone's radar, and I've ever since I saw this guy play against Tennessee, I kind of fell in love with him. Jaheim Bell entered the portal at South Carolina. This guy he runs the ball for them. He plays some fullbacks, some running backs, and tight ends. South Carolina actually lost both their tight ends to the portal, but this guy is like built for the Mike Norvell offense because he can play so many different ways, and he's got great hands. And if you're looking for a guy to come into this offense, and the guy is leading basically because he didn't get enough catches at the tight end position, and he knows he can. He knows he has the ability to get more, and that's why he's leaving. But when they started to showcase him in the offense is when he went off. And that's when they upset, Tennessee. And that's when they won the bowl game last year. So I think Jaheim Bell, if you look up his highlights, the guy has the ability to be a special player in this offense. And I really, really hope right now.
He's not the lady you see on the screen.
No, he's not her. But really in the running right now, they're saying it's Florida, Colorado, and one other school. I'm kind of disappointed that either we're not getting traction there or Mike Norvell isn't going after it. Maybe he believes in the players we have in the room, or we're going after the kid from Shorter, the FCS kid. I'd rather us not go after a kid at the FCS level, even though it's worked out for Jared Verse. I don't know. I'd rather us go for a FBS level tight end just because that position is sometimes hard to get right and to evaluate at a certain degree. So I'd rather go after a kid like this. I also know that we are potentially looking at tight ends, the kid out of Indiana, who's in the portal now at AJ Barner. So he's another offensive weapon who just recently went into the portal. I think Florida State's going to have the potential to get a tight end, and I think they need this is what the portal's built for. You have a hole in your offense, and I think we can all agree that the biggest hole in this offense is tight end. We do not have a reliable playmaking tight end in this offense. We have ones that can block relatively well, but we do not have ones that can could really catch, turn upfield, and score or make guys miss. And I think, or ones that they have to respect their catching ability. So I think a guy like AJ Barner or a guy like I just said, are potential game changers for us in terms of taking this offense to the next level and make us an ACC contender. Anything to add to that?
No, I agree. I agree with what you said. I'm a little concerned our ability to recruit a tight end based on how many passes a guy who wants to catch passes and go to the next level. I don't know what he expects. Maybe does he expect 25, 30 catches, 25 to 30 a season? I'm not sure Mike Novell.
Jaheim only got 25 last year, and he wasn't happy.
I'm not sure Mike Novell throws that many passes. He's increased that, which I like, but I'm not sure he throws that many passes to the tight end position.
Because I honestly don't think that the ability isn't fully there for them to play in the offense. And that's no knock. I think I really like Cam.
That's a problem because then you can't recruit a tight end who catches the ball.
That's what I'm saying. If you say to the player, we're looking for a playmaker tight end to open up our playbook even more, I think that's the selling point. It's like, let's get you in. Look at what we've done just with what we've had in terms of we've had more blocking tight ends, right? We've had guys coming off of injuries. Cam's been banged up. Let's get a guy like you, Jaheim, or like you, AJ. Let's get you in this offense and let's open up the. Look at how we have one of the top offenses in the country. Now we just need a playmaking tight end. Let's get you in here.
Yeah, offenses that use that tight end and their pass catching abilities, it makes it a nightmare for a defense.
Yeah,
and I think Georgia does a great job with that.
And
Alabama does to a point. Notre Dame has always sort of done that.
No, they are tight end.
Those guys, that tight end, you have to account for that guy. And that
Florida State hasn't had tight end since Nick O'Leary. We haven't had tight end since Nick O'Leary.
That linebacker can't really, he's got to hold back some to go with the guy. So I think you make a valid point.
It's a grave mistake if we do not get a tight end in the portal. Jaheim Bell is a potential All-American if we land him. Same potentially with AJ. But if we do not go all in on the tight end position on the offensive side, it's a grave mistake.
Yeah, you're saying you're not satisfied with what we have in the tight end room.
I just think it brings our game to another level.
Okay.
And then to Keith's point, I do believe we do need to recruit some linebackers. There's a couple of those on the board. I'm not sure the offers that have gone out for that yet. They're kind of under the radar now, but I definitely agree with you. It helps that Deloach is coming back, but definitely need to get more linebackers on board. And Adagby's right. I mean, room full of tight ends, and none of them are standouts yet. That's totally correct. You guys got like Brian Courtney, who's young but not stand out. You have the block. I always forget his name. The guy that's always blocking. He's got
yeah, I know.
I forget his name, but no, like Dagny, you're totally right. We have a room full of them. Marquise Douglas. He's come on a little bit. Like you said, he's got potential, but like you said, he's a developmental piece still, and maybe he turns it on next season. I liked what I saw from him, but he's a big guy. He's athletic, but like you said, none of them have really, to your point, stood out. And it could be maybe that's I don't want to say that's the offensive game plan. I think it's more of trust in that and having a true veteran playmaker that can make all the plays and do all the plays, right? It's more of we're tailing our offense away from the tight end position versus with the tight end position. And so I would love us to hit the portal and get one of these guys to prove out having a playmaker at that position really can elevate us to the next level. But we'll see. We'll see. Is there anyone else you want to bring up before?
No, I think the only thing I think it's been a quiet week for Florida State in the portal at this point. Those departing and those we're offering, and obviously we don't have anybody coming except the Penn State guy that took place several months ago. So it's been kind of quiet.
Well, I don't think you got a lot of commitments this week from a lot of schools. I think since it's you have 3 or 4 weeks. I think a lot of people are just do some visits. Kids do
I thought everybody
visits.
thought it was going to be I think it's just people are putting their names in. They're getting offers. Some of those offers we don't even know about. That's been probably
there's
pushed
a
out
lot of
by
offers you
Florida
don't know
State
about.
that we don't know about. The meetings are taking place. They're recruited just like high school. You can have meetings with the coaches, conversations. You can have visits take place. I mean, it's an entire process. To expect to see instant turnaround is not really reality.
No.
Okay, it's not reality.
But
I think everybody will be patient. Some of these kids will take their time. They're making an important decision.
But I think it's great to land Darrell tonight. I think that's a great momentum.
Oh, that's a
process. Because that fills a hole. That fills a definite hole, and you can get started on the waiver process for his hardship waiver. And
they probably know the percentage that this waiver is probably going to get approved.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that way. Otherwise, it's also a good move if it isn't being approved. If his mother's sick,
absolutely,
and we can do this kid a favor, and help his mother as well, then help his family. It's just a big humanitarian thing to do.
No, it's great for both sides. It's glad it worked out like that, and we're getting a talented kid who can then be closer to his family. So it works out for both. But it's good momentum on that.
And one of the things we're trying to do here is we're not going to flood you. We're not going to flood you with a bunch of names of every guy that's in the portal and tell you what they do, because it's irrelevant.
Well, also there's 15 other channels that will do that for you.
Well, well, that's what I'm saying. If you want to hear all those names and it chews up a lot of times, we're going to try to bring you the most relevant information as it pertains to this team, as it pertains to Florida State football. And that's what we try to do, because we know your time is valuable and we know it's limited. So
Norvell, if you're listening, probably not listening, please go get Jaheim Bell. I want that kid so much.
There you go.
And like Nunu says in the chat, this team's going to be a problem next year. Nunu, we need a tight end. Talk to Norvell. Get us a tight end. Go get Jaheim Bell from South Carolina. I want that kid. He will bring this offense to another level.
Well, KB, you're right. We need a guy that is a threat to the defense. See, defensive football is about threats. Who are the threats?
I mean, we have threats. Let's not say this. We have threats, but that's just another level.
Listen.
Another level.
It opens up your offense more when you have more threats. Yeah. Okay, and if you have a tight end that can go 15 yards down the field, turn around and catch a freaking pass, Gronk. Gronk. Everybody knows who Gronk is. Okay. Gronk wasn't the fastest guy in the world, but this guy could get downfield. Okay, but his hands were superior. You need a guy that's a big guy and can catch the football. Period.
Totally agree with you there. Totally agree with you.
Period. So there's holes to be filled. The coaching staff's going to work the portal, and you're going to see a number of guys early signing period come into this program who want to get on the roster and get playing ball. That's how this works. Everybody here basically came in with the idea, I'm going to the NFL.
Yeah.
And that's what this is about. Let's not be pretentious now. It's about money. It's about going to the NFL. And I know you hate it when I bring up Dion, but that's what Dion said.
Okay, all right.
Team. And that's what it is. So whether Mike Norvell says it or not, that's what these kids tell the kids what they already know. They'll tell them what they already know.
No, I think he's told them what they know.
Okay, well, I don't know. I don't care. I think it's interesting. And I will bring up stuff like that.
All right. Like you said, we'll be doing, whether it's live or a pre-recorded, we'll do doing update shows where we think relevant. So like we said, we went through who's leaving, who's staying, also who we should target tonight, some key names. I think it's, whether it's Brandon Fisk or it's, Jaheim Bell or it's, AJ Barner. There's a couple of names that are out there. There's offers out there. Sign Darnell Jackson, which is a big hole, but there's a lot of guys out there we need to sign nowadays, especially with the guys we're losing depth-wise. But there's definitely playmakers available out there. So it'll be interesting who Mike Norvell and staff focus their attention on, because with so many guys and so many offers going out, you really have to focus down and say, who are the biggest holes? What can we address? And how quickly can we do it before signing day with the high school staff? So I think that's going to do it for now. till next week, we may do a special show maybe on the weekend, depending on how news
Or
goes.
short
and
segments.
signings. We'll do
Yeah,
some
we're
short
gonna do
things
more
for you.
some short segments.
Maybe a new type, Wendy. We don't need to talk about Coach Thompson tonight. That's not appropriate. We can get into a. I know some people don't like Coach Thompson and his development, but they do great at blocking. But I think we need a higher level of a caliber tight end. But like I said, I love who we have, but I think we can go higher. But with that, I will thank you all for coming tonight. Join the show. If you haven't already, subscribe, hit the notification button so you know when we go live. We push a quick update out. But thank you all. We appreciate your comments, your insights, your questions, all that stuff. It really, means the world to why we do this from the fans' perspective, independent podcast, stuff like that. So we appreciate it. Leave your comments. If you watch this on demand, leave your comments as well. I try to respond to every question and comment you put out there. So thank you all again. We'll see you all soon. And as always, go Noles. Go Noles. And hopefully you get some more signings by the next show. Go Noles, everyone. Have a great night. Have a safe